Hello and welcome to this lunchtime webinar where we are going to be talking about our Heart Buddy scheme and how best you can support families of children with Down syndrome who are about to have heart surgery or undergoing heart surgery. My name is Lou. I'm the training manager for Positive About Down syndrome, which is the healthcare professional arm of the national charity Down Syndrome UK. And I have a video today to show you from Rosie Haynes, who's our Heart Buddy coordinator. So in case you haven't been to one of our webinars before, just a brief introduction of who we are as an organisation. As I said, Positive About Down Syndrome is the healthcare arm of, or the maternity arm of the National Down Syndrome organisation, Down Syndrome UK. We've been going about 7-8 years now. We've been filling in the gaps for supporting parents where there used to be no support, but also we work very closely with healthcare professionals. We've worked with the Institute of Health Visiting, as well as the Royal College of Midwives. We've been working on a series of iLearn modules with them. We've also been working quite closely with paediatricians. We've done a bit of research ourselves into how women were given the news that their baby has Down syndrome, the effect on their mental health. And we've done quite a lot of work into breastfeeding and had various publications in the British Journal of Midwifery and in other places. So as an organisation, we're a parent-led charity, and as such, we consider ourselves to be the experts through experience. And we work very closely with local hospitals, universities, all healthcare providers, making sure that they have the resources they need, up-to-date, contemporary resources that families need. And also we provide this kind of training to healthcare professionals about the lived experience of having a child with Down syndrome. I mean, our aim is pretty high. We work really hard to reach every expectant and new parent of a baby with Down syndrome, making sure that they've got all the information and support that they need. We're able to provide ongoing peer support and expert advice through the lived experience. And this lived experience we are passing on to you as professionals so that you know that you're able to provide the best experience to the women and the families that you come across. Just to show you that we provide quite a good service, I guess, to our families. We did a survey last year just to check that we were giving our families the information that they needed, and they trusted the information we gave them, and thankfully the results came back pretty good. So in terms of heart defects, I'm going to briefly introduce you to the most common heart defects that our children are likely to have. I'm not a medical person, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the most common heart defects. And then I'm going to show you a video from Rosie, who's our Heart Buddy coordinator, and also a video from a mother who was a recipient of a Heart Buddy, and another mother who is a Heart Buddy. So in terms of heart defects, all babies with Down syndrome in the UK should have an echocardiogram within the first 6 weeks. And it is about 50% of babies who have Down syndrome will have a heart defect. There's only a minority of those babies that will need to have heart surgery. It is still quite a significant minority of like 15 to 20%. The rest of the heart defects will either resolve on their own or under regular monitoring that the children are able to live with those heart defects. So in terms of those statistics, it's not known how that compares to the rest of the population, because a lot of babies don't have their hearts looked at under such close scrutiny. So we don't really know how that compares to the general population. In terms of heart defects, there are, like I said, 4 common ones that our children have. I'm just going to go into these briefly. The most common one is an AVSD, which is an atrioventricular septal defect, where there are holes between the right and left side of the heart, and often a different valve configuration. So extra blood is able to flow to the lungs, and it causes quite a lot of high pressure, and the heart has to work quite hard. the babies can have either complete AVSD, where there's a large hole in the center of the heart, so blood can flow between all chambers of the heart, and that will need surgery. An incomplete AVSD, which is a smaller hole which doesn't cross the whole 4/4 of the heart. So it may, depending on the size, obviously, it may not need surgery, but often it does. The other most common heart defect is the VSD, which is a ventricular septal defect, where there's a hole in the wall that separates the two lower quarters of the heart. So with a VSD, the blood will flow from the left through the hole to the right side of the heart and into the lungs. So that, again, that puts quite a lot of pressure on the heart. Small VSDs may close on their own, but larger ones obviously will need to have surgery. Another common defect is the PDA, which is persistent ductus arteriosus. So this opening closes, naturally after birth, but if it doesn't, it's termed persistent. So a small PDA, no treatment will be needed, but if it's larger, it may need medication or surgery. And the final heart defect that our children have is the tetralogy of Fallot, which is 4 conditions at once. So that includes a VSD, a narrowing of the passage from the right side of the heart to the lungs, a thicker muscular wall of the lower right quarter of the heart, and an enlarged aorta. And usually this requires surgery quite soon after birth. So obviously, if your baby has to have some kind of heart surgery, it's a really, really stressful time for families. And until recently, there wasn't really adequate support for these families. So as an organisation, we started up the scheme, the Heart Buddy scheme, which are like a team of volunteer parents whose children have had heart surgeries, and we buddy them up with families that are going to have that particular surgery, preferably at that particular hospital. If we can't buddy them up with one person, we buddy them up with 2 people. So our buddies are able to provide an understanding and practical advice through what is a really stressful time for the families, and they can support them from the initial hospital appointments through the surgery and post-surgery to recovery. So basically, it's a kind of virtual hand-holding of these families' hands from people who've been through that themselves. So they're sharing their experiences and helping these families feel better prepared to deal with what's coming and the recovery of their child through their heart surgery. So currently we're supporting over 150 families, just about over 150 families. And we have 114 parent volunteers on the books at the moment and 58 babies that are awaiting surgery. So the Heart Buddy scheme is run by a fantastic volunteer that we have, who's Rosie Haynes, who's our Heart Buddy coordinator. And I have a video to show you now where Rosie explains what a Heart Buddy does. And then we're going to go on to a video of Samia, who is a mother who had a Heart Buddy, and then Eleanor, who is a Heart Buddy. And hopefully they'll be able to explain to you what the Heart Buddy scheme is all about.
Hello, I'm Rosie and I'm PAD's Heart Buddy coordinator. My daughter Sophie was born in December 2019. We knew quite early on in the pregnancy that she had a high chance of having Down syndrome, and we had extra heart scans as a result of that. When we were about 28 weeks pregnant, they found that she did have a heart defect, what's called a partial AVSD or atrioventricular septal defect. They thought at that point that they probably wouldn't need to have surgery to repair it. But unfortunately, when she was about 5 weeks old, she had an echo and they found that the hole was a lot larger than they thought. So she had a really big hole between her two ventricles. And it had quite an impact on her, and so surgery was suddenly a foregone conclusion. It was obviously a really difficult time, and watching her gradually get more and more poorly was really tough. They were able to offer interventions as she got more poorly. So they started off with high calorie formula-based top-ups. I was able to breastfeed alongside those. Then they got to diuretics at the March, and they then had to increase those, and then she had a feeding tube for about 5 or 6 weeks before surgery. She was just too exhausted to feed, but it was really tough and not helped by being in the first COVID lockdown at the time. We had to shield because we didn't know what would happen if she caught COVID. So it was a really tough time. She had her surgery when she was about 5 months old, almost exactly 4 years ago. Hence the heart's behind me. We celebrate her heart day every year as it's such a special day. She was in intensive care after surgery for 5 days, including quite a bumpy ride. On the 3rd day, her lung collapsed due to fluid in the cavity, and she suddenly really struggled. It was quite terrifying to have everyone come running, but it was amazing watching them work. Professionalism and care of her was just overwhelmed by really amazing care. Once the liquid had drained, she came on leaps and bounds, and it was clear that the surgery had been completely transformative. She'd always had recessions under her ribs when she was breathing, and they were gone. She was off the feeding tube within a couple of weeks of surgery, and just held on like no tomorrow. It was amazing. I was really fortunate to have met another mum while I was pregnant, whose son had been through heart surgery. And she was a real support to me during our hospital stay, particularly. She'd shared photos before, so I knew what to expect in intensive care. And she just understood how I was feeling. She knew what questions to ask, and I didn't feel I had to sugarcoat anything. When I was talking to her, it really helped. So the year after Sophie's surgery, Nicola, who runs PADS, suggested that we form a heart buddy scheme. And I leapt for the chance to be involved with it because I just knew how much difference it can make. We started the scheme in March 2021, and to date we've supported over 140 families who live with hearts. So we start by asking parents to fill in a form, capturing their key information, and we use that to match them up, usually with 1 or 2 heart buddies. We try to make sure that they have a buddy with experience of the hospital, the cardiac hospital that they're under, and also of the surgical procedure or similar procedure that the elephant needs to go through. We have a big spreadsheet, and I match everyone up based on that information. And we can't always do it exactly, but we try and get the best match we can. And then we set them up on a WhatsApp or Messenger group so that the heart buddies can sort of virtually hold the parent's hand all the way through, from the initial appointments all the way through to surgery and recovery. And we have people sign up at all sorts of different stages of that journey. I'm in every group as well, so I moderate and oversee the groups, and I chip in occasionally if I've got relevant experience, or if something like the parent got questions about feeding tubes and the heart buddy didn't happen to have a feeding tube, things like that. And obviously, having been through so many families' journeys with them and hold their hands on it, I've got quite a lot of experience now, and so can answer some questions that perhaps buddies can't. So what sort of things do our heart buddies help with? First is a lot of practical advice, things like lots of questions about the best place to park, what to pack to take to hospital. We try and encourage parents to have a plan in advance of how they'll manage that period, particularly if they've got other children to think about, and to encourage them to think about ways to keep themselves busy during the surgery. I think a lot of parents think, oh, I couldn't do anything, but actually going out for a walk. Lots of parents go to the shops and buy something for their baby, or take films to watch or something to keep them busy and distracted. The buddies share their experiences of their journeys, and we get a lot of questions about how long surgery and hospital stays have been and things like that. And then there's the emotional support and reassurance. I think a lot of parents are worried about things like taking their little one down to theatre and being able to hand them over. And for a lot of parents, that's a real sense of anxiety before the surgery, and they worry that they won't be able to do it, or have a panic attack or something. And being able to empathise and really reassure that we all felt the same, and we were able to be calm on the day and to reassure our little ones really helps. Once families were in hospital, buddies will check in regularly, remind parents to make sure they're looking after themselves, go and get sleep, make sure you're eating, make sure you're drinking. Just reassuring them that it's okay to go and have rest and have a time out for a walk. And they can offer support without the parents needing to sugarcoat anything. They can be very open about how they're feeling and they're going through, because we're not family and friends, we don't need to be protected as well. And I think there's an understanding of what the families, what the parents are going through, how they're feeling, what their fears and worries are. That's really hugely helpful. I think another key value of the Heart Buddy scheme is the reassurance that you're talking to someone who's been through that situation, had all the same worries and fears, and their little one is here and doing well afterwards. And we obviously never give any guarantees that surgery will be a success and everything will go smoothly. But by having examples ourselves and being able to talk about our own stories, that is a real reassurance. We do have Heart Buddies on board who had a very difficult recovery themselves, and these amazing humans have volunteered to support other parents who have a difficult recovery, and we will draft them in if needed, so they can share their experience of those really difficult times. And it's always very humbling to read the messages and the understanding that goes back and forth in those situations. And again, there's that reassurance there that their child has been poorly and that they have recovered as well. We have a lot of parents go on to sign up to be Heart Buddies themselves once their little one is home and fully recovered. And I think that really shows just how helpful they found the whole scheme. It's a lovely example of just how much parents support each other in this community. It's really wonderful to be part of, and I'm really proud of what I do. A hospital for cardiology. We're told then she's a heart patient cardiology level. However, they found some high number of white blood cells in her blood. She was transferred to RBN. But RBN was completely. At that point, medical conditions had completely broken our heart. We didn't know whether she would survive the night. Further on, we were told that these conditions are associated with Down syndrome. We were told that she has features, physical features to babies with Down syndrome. However, me and my husband did not see it. We just thought she looked like her older mother. She is my second child, so this was a whole new experience for me. I think just struggled a lot because we don't know what anybody with Down syndrome. We don't know exactly who's Down syndrome. So it was the unknown, and also knowing that she has two major medical conditions, and it's just not very comfortable. Dad, we don't want our baby to suffer. How's the future? Soon, I was a health visitor told me about PADS, and I went onto my Facebook and I just myself on there and around the scheme. Heart Buddies, I joined straight away. So we were told that I would need reconstructive heart surgery at 7 months. I was then put it up with Eleanor and Sarah, my daughter, and they were absolutely amazing. I'm not telling you how much it helped with my mental health and accepting the diagnosis, but also knowing that I had two moms that have been exactly what I've been through. Eleanor had a daughter who also had surgery at the hospital, and Sarah had a daughter who had the actual heart condition to type 2 battle. There were little things that could just go onto the WhatsApp group and ask, like, how long will the community is then do to help with the scarring. They even sent me pictures of their daughters after surgery, just so I don't have that shock when I feel like that. They also gave me tips about getting buttons up best and little things that I can take with me to find comfort after surgery. I remember also Eleanor offered to meet me for some coffee as I was in Newcastle for checkups. And here we were in Costa, walked in, and this beautiful baby girl, Ava, I think she was 2 at the time, and she was taking steps, and she was talking with her mum and her sister with Macinton, and just seemed like it was so much hope and understanding that all babies with Down syndrome can do things, will take time. However, here's a little one, and she's an example. And there we were holding Irish only 1 month old. And my son got to see what a sibling with Down syndrome would look like, happy after the love. It was probably one of the most amusing things during our journey that still resonates with us. My husband and I still talk about it, how the first look of a baby with Down syndrome would look, because obviously we just had Nyla, and we just know what her future would be. And heartbreak system needed help, our mental health, accepting our diagnosis, and understanding that no matter what journey my daughter will be on, she will be okay. She will be okay, and she will do things in life slowly but surely.
Hi, I'm Eleanor. I'm married to Andrew and we have 3 kids. So we've got Maya, Oscar and Ava. So Ava is our youngest little girl who has Down syndrome. She was born in 2018 and at 3 days old, we found out that she had a complete ABSD. So we had to be rushed over we actually had to drive across town to be able to get out of hospital to get her heart checked at a different hospital. And that was where it was confirmed that she had a complete ABSD. So it was quite a busy time at that first point from when we first had that kind of diagnosis. I had my older 2 children in the hospital because we were about to leave to go home when they did kind of that final check and found that she had a murmur, and that's when we had to race across town. So from that moment, it was pretty hectic because we had to get my family to come in, get the older 2 children, so we could be with Ava while we were working out what was going on. We obviously went home at that point. There was a lot going on. It was a bit of a blur. I think the key thing from that period that stuck out for me was when we received the letter from the hospital when she was a couple of weeks old saying that she had gone into heart failure. To see that in black and white, that your child is in heart failure, is I've actually got goosebumps going on now, kind of even just thinking back to that period. I remember walking down the road, phoning a friend saying, yeah, she's in heart failure. And it was kind of a bit of a shock moment. And at that point, we had no one that had been through anything similar to us to turn to. I guess I was fortunate that I had friends that would listen, but they weren't able to kind of help and advise on anything else at that point. We did have a bit of a struggle through our hospital experience because on one side, we were very fortunate. We had a South African doctor who was looking after Ava, and he was very pro breastfeeding, of which I was as well. The nurses were probably a little bit more negative, that they wanted whenever so Ava was struggling to feed because of her energy. She just, all of her energy was going on surviving essentially at that point. So the nurses, when we were admitted a couple of times, they were adamant that they just wanted her to be tube fed so that they could feed her on their schedule, not in a way that was actually suitable for Ava. I really, really had to fight to maintain a feeding schedule for Ava where we could breastfeed through the day, and then she ended up having to be on the machine through the night. She couldn't cope with bolus feeds. She was just projectile vomiting. But I really had to fight hard to get to that stage. I was so glad that we did, because once Ava had her surgery, so she was 4 months old when she had her surgery, she kind of had reached the point where she wasn't gaining any weight at that point, or very, very slowly. And she'd reached the 4 kilogram mark, which we were told that was kind of where they wanted her to be. So at that point, she had her surgery. We were fortunate the hospital where we are has a little house that families can stay in. And I was fortunate that I had a cousin that had kind of links to that was able to help at the time to kind of alleviate some of the worries and stress I had about whether we would be able to be by Ava's side, it would have been really useful to have had a heart buddy through all of that period, someone who just understood either the surgery itself or what went on in the hospital and what was available in terms of kind of the support in the hospital, like the accommodation that we stayed in. Ava recovered really quickly from her surgery. She fed from me again, easily within 24 hours. I can't remember the exact time frame. But that was partly because I'd maintained the breastfeeding right up until the moment she'd gone into surgery. And that absolutely, without doubt, really helped in her coming out of hospital much more quickly, because we didn't end up having to have kind of the battles around feeding on the other side of it. And that is one thing that I do kind of try and stress to any other parents that are in a similar situation, that if they can maintain breastfeeding, then do it. But if you've got the medical team that are really fighting you on it, it's really, really hard work with that. That's partly why I became a heart buddy, because I wanted the support for other people that I didn't have. We were very alone in that process. Fortunately, me and my husband had each other. We had a bit of flexibility. He was on parental leave, I'm self-employed. So we had some flexibility there to be there for each other. But I wanted to make sure that other people had the answers to questions that we had, and had someone there cheerleading them, saying, like, I know you can do this, like you can get through this, things do get better. It would have massively helped me. Kind of, it is a big burden to, especially if you've got kind of other children that you're looking after as well. It is a massive burden to be kind of that person that is keeping this little thing alive through all of that kind of worry. So it would have really helped, kind of mental health wise, all my kind of mental well-being, all of that, to have just had someone there as a shoulder to cry on. I would like to think I've been a heart buddy for a few people now, quite a few people whose surgery is up here, and I think possibly for someone who had a similar condition but elsewhere. And although I'm not in touch with them as often, we do still stay in touch, some more than others. And I have been that shoulder to cry on. We've met and kind of with our little ones as well. And I'd like to think that it has made a real difference to the people who I have been a heart buddy for. So yeah, I would say, obviously, kind of I do think it is a really worthwhile system. I do wish that I'd had that available to me. And if anybody is wondering whether it is going to be helpful, 100% absolutely yes, without a doubt.
Okay, so hopefully now you know a bit more about the Heart Buddy scheme and how it really is making a difference to the families that are about to undergo surgery, which obviously is a really, really stressful time, as those families have said. So in terms of what other support we're able to offer, we have lived experience document on our website. So if not every family, wants to have that heart buddy, but are still really nervous as to what to expect, we have our lived experiences on the website, so they can get more of an idea of what to expect at various hospitals and various surgeries. Again, there's photos in there so that the families are not getting a shock when their child comes out of theatre, so they can see what their child might look like. On our website as well, we have a few top tips for parents of children about to undergo heart surgery. So things like keeping a list of the hospital numbers and the professionals involved, to have it all together so you're not worrying and searching for various bits of information. Take toys and things for the children to keep them busy before the operation, any scans that they're having, and to give the child comfort, after the operation. I mean, these are all very simple handy hints, but to have it all in one place and have it like a tick box makes it a lot simpler for families, so they know they're not going to forget anything. So, also to check whether the hospital that you're at, whether they have any kind of heart buddy schemes or as support, especially if you're not really, you don't want that virtual hand holding. See if the hospital has any kind of charity support surrounding that particular hospital. Also, things like take socks and booties and mittens if to warm up cold hands and feet, but also to stop your children from reaching out at tubes, pulling out tubes. Another top tip is to get some post-surgery vest where the poppers are down the side rather than across a scar or a recent surgery scar. Another top tip is that ICUs are generally quite warm places, so remember to take light clothing so that you don't overheat when you're supporting your child in ICU. Think about yourself. Bring water bottles, snacks, things that give you comfort. Good book, comfy jumper, headphones, things like that. Making sure that you're not stressing too much as well, so you're looking after yourselves. And just for the families to remember that there are other families that have been through that, and if they wanted a heart buddy, we can fix that up for them and help support them in that way. So in terms of quotes from families who've had heart buddies, these are really, really good quotes. So like, having a heart buddy gave me so much support and insight into what would happen in the run-up, during and post heart surgery. It's like they're there holding your hand through the hardest day of your life. So a lot of these families say that this is one of the hardest things they've gone through, and having a heart buddy there has just made it that little bit easier and more able to tolerate. Another one is, I just wanted to say thank you. It's been a saviour for me and my anxiety, a total lifeline for me and my family, which is a great thing to say, a total lifeline. We've got loads of quotes. These are just a handful. I can't recommend this scheme highly enough. It's really helped me knowing what to expect and to not feel so alone. It's the most terrifying experience, but much easier having someone on hand to support. We've not, saying it's the most terrifying experience. It's really nice that we're able to help families through that. We haven't had any poor experiences that we've been told about, and we don't have any bad quotes about our Heart Buddy scheme because there isn't really anything out there, and it's been long overdue helping support these families. So that's all we really wanted to say about Heart Buddies, just to let you know a bit more about the charity, that we are able to deliver bespoke training to midwives, doctors, health visitors and students in healthcare. Do just get in contact with me if you've got any training needs, and we can share more of our lived experience training, which we know is making a real big difference to some healthcare professionals. We also have a closed Facebook group, which you're most welcome to join. And this is not just healthcare professional staffs, but also students as well. And in that group, you'll find out any other webinars that are coming up, any new publications that we have, any research that we've been doing, but also it's a place to ask questions or share your best practice so that we know what's working for you, so that we can pass that on through our training. Our website is there, www.downsyndromeuk.co.uk. There is a professional section there, so do take a look at that, and it'll give you more information and resources that might be useful to you. In terms of our next lunchtime webinar, it's on the 15th of July, where we'll be talking about maternity care. We're talking about the good, the requires improvement, and the outstanding. So sharing best practice really, and the effect best practice has on the mental health of families. We have a few mums coming along to share their experiences there, so that should be a really good webinar. So that's all I really need to say. Apart from there is my email address, and also the Heart Buddy email address, should you come across any families that need a Heart Buddy to help them along their journey. Thank you very much for joining me today.